All right, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us this lovely Wednesday morning. The webinar that we're talking about is Unlocking DTG Success for Garment Decorators. My name is Joe Longton. I'm the Marketing Director at AnaJet. I happen to have with me two customers of ours. One is Henry Landau, the owner of Landau's of Princeton, and Summer Meek, one of the co-owners of Soul Project in Print Laguna Beach. So today we're going to be going through what some of these customers and other customers have used to help expand their business, to launch a brand new business model, and to add brand new product lines. So I'll run through an introduction about myself, AnaJet, a couple of the customers that we have on a call with us, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So who's going to benefit from this presentation? There are a few folks that I hope are on the call, and those are people who are evaluating adding direct-to-garment equipment to their existing business or launching something brand new. The focus of the talk here is to find out what exactly business owners who have DTG have been doing to be successful. So it's more about strategies and business planning. It's not going to be an in-depth product or technical discussion about the product itself. If you do have questions about our products, feel free to add them into the chat window or into the questions. Would love to follow up with you after the call personally. If it is a technical call for a customer, again, that's something that we would like to handle offline from this. But if you have questions about building a business, the strategy for integrating DTG into your business, this is going to be the place to ask that type of question. So we're hoping to provide you with some really good advice. We do have other venues where we discuss product. We have a lot of trade shows also where if you want to see a live demonstration, you can do that. And we also happen to have a pricing webinar that's also archived on our website. So let me ask a polling question very quickly, just so that I'm asking the right questions. If you could take just a few seconds to click on this and select one of these answers here. Where are you at in your business process? And let's see if it's, I'm seeing many people who are saying that they're well-established and a handful in business about a year. So I'm seeing about 50%, now more, 50% or more, staying in business for a couple of years. That's great. That's going to be ideal. And folks who are just laying the groundwork, don't worry. There's still going to be some valuable information here for you. I'm just going to give this 5 more seconds and then X out of it. All right, so it looks like everybody who's on the call, almost everybody who's on the call has voted here. There we go. All right, let's move on. We'll close that poll up and advance the slides. So briefly about AnaJet. Who are we? We're the makers of the top-selling Sprint and very popular Empower I series. Each of these is the fastest single-platen DTG printer in its class. As you may or may not know, the Sprint is using an Epson head, and the Empower is using an industrial-strength stainless steel Ricoh print heads. We recently announced the anniversary of our alliance with Ricoh. All of our printers are designed, built, sold, supported, and we train them out of Costa Mesa, California, our headquarters right here. And all of our sales for the United States customers are factory direct, and you're supported from the factory, not through distributorships. We're also well known for our free lifetime training and live technical support. On the call also with us, we have Henry Landau from Landau's of Princeton. This is a snapshot we took a couple years ago when I visited them out on Nassau Street in Princeton, New Jersey. And the Ram there, sadly, he was commandeered. Am I right, Henry?
Oh, a year and a half ago.
But we have
a new one.
We have a replacement Ram. So
the replacement has now been chipped.
Okay. Then we also have Summer Meek of Soul Project. And this is just right off of your homepage. And I think what you're doing with your website is awesome, Summer.
Thank you.
So they happen to be located in Laguna Beach, which is a pretty well-known artist community here in Southern California. So we have folks from both coasts on the call with us today. Thank you both for being on the call and volunteering your insight to our audience today. So first tip is if you're just starting out, and this is for the folks who maybe even already have a going garment decoration business, If you're going to add a direct-to-garment line, you want to have a business plan to support that product line. You're going to want to outline a few of the key things that are going to make you successful. For example, what are your goals? They may not just be strictly dollar volume. They could be to have a number of repeat customers. If you're already an existing embroidery business, if you're already an existing promotional products business, you may want to expand the reach, or you may want to expand the volume that you're getting with existing accounts. You may want to achieve a certain level of reputation, such as the #1 printer in town, or the #1 printer for a campus, or for a small community. Your objectives, yes, right, yes, Henry?
Quickest response printer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You may want to be the one who has the only folks in town who have on-demand printing. That's a reputation that Henry's achieved in a very short time. Other objectives, how are you going to achieve those goals? Is it going to be based on acquiring a certain number of new customers? Are your objectives going to be to develop a website or a social media presence? Many of our customers have a website in the back of their mind, but they haven't used that as an objective to help drive their goals. Your time frames. You should have clear time frames to achieve these objectives that are going to drive your money or drive your reputation. Look at 6 months, 12 months, 2-year horizons, maybe even go out to 5-year horizons. They don't have to be long and complicated. My business plan for my DTG line of business was essentially written by hand on some blank white paper, about 4 sheets. A good business plan is an outline for achieving success, and it should be adaptable. Over the course of our customers, Henry and Summer's business, their business models have actually changed, and they've shifted over time from one product line or one type of business to perhaps an entirely different one. So it should be adaptable, but you should write it down so that you can refer back to it often. Another thing that's important when establishing direct-to-garment line of business is to have very realistic goals. There's some folks on here who are running a full-time garment decoration business already. They know what their capacity is. What can you actually achieve by yourself, or with one employee, or with your spouse, or with your kids in a given day or in a given week? You know that you have to have lead times built in so that you can have a queue of orders to fulfill. When it comes to the direct-to-garment printer itself, you have to be able to devote a block of time either every day or on the weekends to making sure that you're focused and you're productive on that machine. So don't go into this saying, I have a full-time job and I'm going to do this in the evenings and the weekends, and I'm going to take on immense job orders in the hundreds of units, and I'm just going to do them as I can. You really need to be realistic about what your capability is and how much time you can devote to a business. That said, the printers that we have facilitate pretty speedy turnaround, and so the idea of printing 50 shirts in a couple of hours is very, very realistic. I think Henry and Summer would agree with that. To have an upgrade path is important if you are starting off small especially. So what's really nice is that we happen to have multiple product lines here at AnaJet. There are other manufacturers out there that also may have an upgrade path, but we believe that it's really natural to migrate from a Sprint to an MP5 to an MP10. And both Summer and Henry have experience working with multiple versions here. You want to factor in time for administrative tasks, meaning you're going to be quoting, you're going to be doing a little bit of graphic design. So you want to make sure that you blocked off the ability to do that. And your production capacity is the basis of your cost model, which is the basis for your pricing. Buying smart and maintaining your equipment should really go without saying. You want to make sure that you have quality equipment to start with, and the point that I'm going to highlight here is to buy the warranty if it's available. And I think that we have 2 customers on the line who will concur with that. You want to make sure that if you're going to be using a machine and doing production volumes, especially, you want to protect yourself. Make sure that you have the company by your side if anything goes wrong. You always get what you pay for. It's one of the truest things in life. So that's true with not just the direct-to-garment unit, but also with all these other things on our shopping list. Regular maintenance is key, and so is training. So using good equipment and software and being well-trained are going to save you money and time in the long run. Technically, you want to carve out a dedicated shop space within your existing shop, within your garage or your dining room. Now, the DTG printers take up, Henry tells me it's about 50 to 60 square feet maximum. That's probably a good rule of thumb. If you have a higher production models, then you might even want to make room for a second heat press. There is a no-no that's happening in this picture, and I don't know if anybody can spot it, but if you can see, there's a printer right next to a heat press at 336 degrees. This is not a good idea. Even though this is a customer of ours and we really like lone mountain printing, in practice, you typically want to keep that heat press at least 6 feet away from your printer because that iron on top of that press is super hot, hotter than boiling, and it's drawing the air, which is contradictory to keeping the print heads from drying out on the printer. So having a hygrometer, keeping 45% relative humidity, I can't stress that enough. Believe it or not, we still have folks who come to us saying, well, you never told me I needed to have 45% relative humidity. Okay, so this is notice right now, folks. If you don't read the manual and you skip training and you open the box of your printer one day, at least you have seen this webinar and you know it's 45% relative humidity. Not hard to achieve. You want to have a separate space for treating and drying your pre-treated shirts. And don't use your print table as the table for pre-treating your shirts. Pretty bad idea. Allowing yourself some ramp-up time. Almost all of our customers can attest to needing to allow themselves some learning curve, meaning that you need to research, understand how the RIP software works, attend the training, or at least view AnaJet University online, which is on our YouTube page. Spend the 2 hours, watch how the RIP works, watch how to run a print, learn how to do the maintenance, then get samples for blank shirts. Find out who your favorite shirt supplier is. What kind of shirts do your customers want most of? Become really good at, really handy at least with Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, or Corel Draw. And if those softwares are too pricey for you, you can buy Photoshop elements, and that costs less than $100. Some suggested suppliers for graphics and for blanks we put up here. Spectra is right now currently our favorite t-shirt provider. We get the best results from their ring spun garments. We've worked with others on here. One that I'll call out is a Hanes Nano, which produces an ultra smooth type of finish with a ring spun feel. And then when it comes to graphics, I recommend highly that you look at Great Dane Graphics. There is also a training book that I'm going to feature right here. This is $99.99. It's probably the best $100 you'll ever spend if you are going to be doing any graphic design at all for t-shirt printing. I highly recommend you hit greatdanegraphics.com, get t-shirt artwork simplified. It's $100 straight off of their website. It is fantastic, and it's available for Photoshop as well as for Corel Draw. Another tip about technical matters and administrative stuff is to identify one primary blanks provider. This is a tip that I've heard from multiple customers, and the reason that we want to do this is because it'll help you with your cost, and it'll help you with the speed of delivery. So if you're going to be buying a lot of shirts, you want to be able to negotiate case pricing. The way that you do that is by working regularly with one vendor who's going to provide 90% of your blank.
So can I interrupt for 1 second?
Please, please.
Basically, I'm on the East Coast. I'm within 15 minutes of a Sanmar warehouse. And when I originally signed up with them, you see a per-piece price, a dozen price, and a case price. And after about 6 months, they came to me saying I was doing enough business to get case prices, whether I ordered 1, 12, or a case. And that's cut my costs dramatically.
Awesome. And that's a strong recommendation, and it really does make a difference when you can get that case pricing. Also, from Chuck Northcutt, the Digi guy, he says that a lot of his suppliers would do free overnight shipping on orders over $200. That's phenomenal because it enables you to, you don't have to carry a lot of inventory in stock. Henry happens to be a retail shop, and he carries a substantial inventory.
But even so, Sanmar is $200 for overnight shipment. They have 6 warehouses nationally. Yeah. Bodick and Rhodes is in Philadelphia, the same thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's great.
Yeah, that's ideal. And another tip that came from Chuck is if you're carrying excess stock, don't carry those. You could use that cash for other things. You could use that cash for paying booth fees at a fair, or buying a direct mail piece to help drive some leads, or maybe even buying a radio ad. So Now we're getting into a little bit more business strategy here. And the top piece of advice here is to not restrict your business model to just one mode. So, for example, Summer and Don founded Soul Project in Print Laguna Beach. And so print is the side of the house that does the custom garment and accessories printing, and they're doing it on demand, whereas Soul Project is where they work with local artists in key communities around the country, and they take those artists' finished work and digitize them and get them onto shirts and polos and hoodies and sweatpants and other types of garments. And they have a great website where they're selling these at retail prices. And what Don and Summer say is that their DTG printer, which happens to be, I think, is an MP5i?
MP10i.
It's an MP10i.
Yes.
It's the engine to help people build brands, to build a branded apparel business. What would you add to that, Summer?
We bought it because the screen printing process ended up being too costly for our very artist-oriented shirts. And we've been able to build a business by serving other brands doing their unique custom graphics that are also very complicated. So we've built a niche business for ourselves that way. We just finished a big production job for a new emerging brand, and they wouldn't have been able to do those designs with a screen printer. So that's how we've been able to use it.
Is it true that you guys started off, you've had a pretty conservative lead time that you began with, and then you were able to adjust that as business grew?
It is. We really bought the printer just for the Soul Project, and then once we had it, we really realized that we could make a business out of the print side of the business. And having a brand takes a long time to get off the ground, and the print business has really taken off. We're able to offer those quick turnaround for specialty tees, and then to do the more complicated production for others as well as ourselves. It's a really nice business model for our Soul Project brand also, because I can print to order our email our e-commerce orders.
How about what size of orders do you receive for e-commerce? Are you averaging 1 or 2 pieces per order, or is it larger?
It's usually in the 2 to 3 pieces per order.
So, but you can still be profitable at a 2 and 3 piece order because you can command a premium on the price.
I can command a premium on the price, and I also don't have to carry big inventory positions of printed garments, which is key for us. I'm able to keep some stock of blank apparel that I use for myself and I use for my other customers, and then I have a great relationship with a supplier. I too get free overnight shipping on orders of 200 pieces or $200 or more, and I'm able to turn that over to my customers, and I get that premium pricing. So it's turned out to be a really great business model. Now I can't imagine being in business any other way.
I know that Henry has a well-established retail store, so his empire is not his only source of income. What would you say is that true for Soul Project?
That is true for Soul Project. We have other things that we sell. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move forward here. You mentioned being able to command a premium, and I mentioned earlier about having knowing your capacity for print so that you can, and your cost model so that you know how to price effectively. The foundation is first knowing what all of your costs are. So you need to be aware of the cost of your blanks, your shipping costs, the cost of your inks, pre-treatment, direct labor, anything else that you need to do around actually producing a finished garment. Your overhead would be things like your equipment, rent, utilities, insurance, etc. You may want to take out overhead when you're building a pricing model for printed shirts, or you could just say, I'm going to take a slice of my overhead and apply a tiny percentage of that to every single garment price. But your pricing model needs to tune into these few things. What is your market expectations? Now, in Henry's case, he happens to be in a college town. He has a lot of folks who are coming in off the street, and he happens to also serve customers who are fraternities, sororities, nonprofit organizations, and even some occasionally other businesses in town, hospitals and hotels. So he has a wide variation of customers that have different expectations and different levels of price sensitivity. Soul Project, Summer and Dawn, happen to be in an artist community, and they have a large amount of souvenir shops and tourists, and so it's a slightly different market. But Soul Project in print also serve schools like Laguna College of Art and Design. But knowing who that market is, knowing their price sensitivity is very important, because especially if you're competing in a town that has many different screen printers and other garment decorators, you need to know what your capacity to work on the business is. Mentioned that previously, and what's your skill level? How quick and handy are you with graphic design? A thing I would recommend, or a pitfall that I would stress, is if you are just getting started with graphic design, make sure that you condition your customers to understand they need to bring you finished work, so that you spend a little less time messing around in Adobe Photoshop or Elements to try to fix their work. And sometimes you may have to charge them a design fee. And we can get into that a little bit more further on. The pricing structure is supposed to make you money. Last time I checked, Soul Project and Landau's of Princeton were for-profit organizations. So they price appropriately. They build in a very healthy margin for themselves. Henry, I believe you had a period where you recently had 70,000 gross sales, and you reported a 68% gross margin. Is that right?
As I keep saying, our prices compared to the university store down the street, we're typically 20 to 30% less. Quality is as good or better. Mm-hmm. And I'm pleased in the sense that the way I keep putting it is I love to hit 1,000 singles instead of 5 grand slams.
Mm-hmm. True. There's another point in pricing where when you're looking at competitors, you may think that the screen printer across town is your competitor. That's true, and it isn't true. If your business model is based around going for mass production, you can still be actually quite profitable, and you should even consider partnering with that screen printer from time to time, because you actually may find that they're a good co-opetition and that they have jobs that they cannot produce. The line that we hear from Chuck Northcutt all the time is folks come up to me and say, I can get that screen printed for $6 or $7. The answer is, that's true. You could get something printed for $6 or $7, but it won't look like this, and you won't have it in your hands today. So there's a lot of advantages with direct-to-garment where there are no minimums, there are no screen fees, there's virtually zero setup time, there is virtually zero cleanup time. It's essentially daily maintenance of the printer. People can have full-color graphic designs on demand. These are things that are all impossible with screen printing. So don't race to the bottom when it comes to pricing. You'll always win the race to the bottom, and you'll wind up being a charity. So marketing 101 tips. I'm not even going to cover this. Some of this is so basic, but the one that I'll call out is to join your local Chamber of Commerce. Eastern Shore Signs, Andy Buckles, joined his local Chamber of Commerce soon after he got his Empower MP5. He immediately got a $2,000 shirt order. Radio ads is another oddball one that if you happen to have somebody in a media company to produce a radio ad for you, believe it or not, this is a very lucrative model to drive leads. Because once you've produced the radio ad, you've got a really good voiceover. It runs for 30 seconds. You're getting local visibility, and you put your website and your phone number into this ad. The spots can be $50 and turn around 10 or 15 leads.
Good thing to trade.
Go ahead.
Good thing to trade product for.
Oh yeah, definitely. One of our owners is Overdrive Media, based in Flagstaff, and Doug happens to be pretty experienced with producing radio ads. So he actually is offered to do radio ads for AnaJet owners. So hit me with an email if you want to look into that, jl@anajet.com. Moving forward, this is just an example of a postcard a new customer sent out. They're called Engrave IT. They created this beautiful postcard, slapped their Empower right on top of the Burj Khalifa, and this is just a prime example of a way to drive some visibility and some leads. So spurring sales through referrals, this is turning your customers into your sales force, especially if it's just you or if it's just you and your spouse or your kids, trying to turn this into a real business. You can incentivize your customers to be your sales force with a few key things. Now, a lot of folks do discounts on future orders. They'll throw coupons at their customers. They'll offer just free design work. They may even work with partners. So you may know a photographer. You may know somebody who's a commercial printer, sign maker, et cetera, and a promotional product distributor. You could trade off there and say, I'm going to hand you over to so-and-so to get a discount on your portrait photography just for referring me for new work. So it really depends on what your market is. Your own giveaways can be inexpensive, so they shouldn't cost you more than $3 or $4 for those giveaways. The thing that I'll stress here is that if you're an existing garment decoration business, you always, always, always need to print up a shirt for each customer that comes in, no matter who they are or what they ordered from you. If it's an embroidery job and they ordered you $20 worth of embroidery, $50 worth of embroidery, you're handing them a shirt that either has your logo on it and your business calling card on, or if it's a business, it has their picture, their logo, their calling card on it. And that's just a nice, warm thank you that's going to bring them back in, or people will ask them, oh, so who did you use to embroider this? Well, I used these folks, and they even gave me a free shirt. Something that's final tip is a $20 Amazon.com gift certificate. That could be for your more substantial jobs, and that could be as you go. I guarantee you, your customers are going to remember you when you hand them $20 worth of free merchandise to buy anything they want to. So to go a little bit longer on Landau's of Princeton, it's a retail storefront. You saw the picture at the beginning of the deck. They began with a sprint. Is that correct, Henry, in 2011?
2010.
In 2010, my mistake.
Started CAMX 2010.
CAMX 2010, okay. So and the concept there was not really to turn it into a huge profit center, but you just wanted to recoup some of your costs. Is that right?
My business model on the flight home was how many T-shirts was I having screen printed, and how much could I save per garment, and what would the savings and royalties be, and I had the machine paid for in a year just based on that, not thinking about all the outside business we would do, and which has turned into a whole nother business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed the first thing when I walk up to your store is that your Sprint, now your Empower, is right next to your cash register.
People, it's always running. People see it running. We have our prices posted on the end of it. It allows us to talk to people about it, and we're constantly doing new things. So in the last week, I've picked up 5 new customers that are local businesses that had done T-shirts with somebody else, but all of a sudden, can you do 3 zip hoodie sweatshirts? Can you do some long sleeve tees? And it's all generating business, and they're telling each other.
So, and you've actually seen business grow really fast because it's so much more than just street traffic.
That's right. So we're getting local churches, we're getting real estate offices, we're getting cancer walks, we're getting fraternities and sororities. We're really not a web presence, but we're a on-street presence, and it tends to bring people in, and we're driving it just because they can get to see the machine working.
Now, it's been my understanding that you've actually had some big jobs that you've had to turn away just because your queue is so full.
Oh, I don't turn them away. I just hope. I had one come in, and it was a black front and a black back, 2,500 pieces. I'm having it screen printed, and I'm saving the people $5,000, but I'm also making 5.
So what you've done is you've actually expanded the product lines that you can offer, but the customer doesn't need to know.
Yeah, but then again, what you said about having a association with a screen printer, on the other hand, if something comes in and it's under 2 dozen pieces, the screen printer sends them over to me. If I need something that's easier and quicker for him to do, I don't have a problem asking him to do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent.
I think that's key, is to have a cooperative relationship with a screen printer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It helps dramatically.
Yeah, that way you never say no. My thing is that I'm never going to say no to a customer. If they come in and want something, I always say, yes, I can do that, and then I figure out how to get it done.
Yeah, that's a favorite quote of Sean. Sean Senator likes to say, always say yes.
Yes.
Never say no. There's a piece of advice I got from Henry a couple shows ago about logos and licensing. And in this case, he had a lot of people coming to him who wanted to get Princeton branded apparel. But the idea is to not have to put off paying for that that license and that ability to print their official logo, because they may require pre-approval of every single piece that you want to do for every single job. So Henry had an unusual way that he circumvented that process and was able to go
even circumventing it, Joe. It's anything that's going out my front door that we're selling singles of has to be licensed. Anything that's for any club, organization, or alumni group, they own the rights to it. There is no licensing.
Yeah, but you ended up going to the campus directly with some example pieces? Is that right?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. We do. On the Princeton campus, there are things going on all through the summer and all through the year, so that we've done the Math Olympiad the past couple of years, which has been 300 shirts each fall. We had 3 or 4 different organizations this summer. Did a fraternity Olympics last weekend, 240 shirts. So it's constant.
So Summer, have you guys at Soul Project and Print, have you run into people coming to you and they want to get logoed apparel, and how do you handle that?
I kind of skirt the issue. If it's just a guy coming in wanting to have one shirt done, I'll do it. If it's somebody wanting to do some sort of production and they're going to turn around and sell something that's licensed, I usually try to decline those kind of jobs, or advise them otherwise, because that's a sticky place I don't want to be. Also, having my own brand and having my own trademark elements, I don't want somebody else doing that, so I don't want to be in the practice of doing that for other people.
Yeah. We also have a couple of customers who take their printers out on the road. It's color image designs and road warrior graphics. And so they have a van and a trailer with the MP10i in it, and they actually post a sign when they stop at a venue. It could be a fair or a charity walk of some kind. And they actually say very clearly, don't even ask us to print logo stuff or anything that has to do with, for example, Walt Disney. Forget about it. It's not going to happen, so don't even ask. Because that's a whole hurdle that you want to overcome. But if you have a regular clientele, if you have a college nearby, a school, a business, and it's logoed apparel and they're going to be reselling this, especially if they're going to be reselling it, you want to have a couple of pre-printed samples. You go directly to the licensor and say, this is what I'm going to be producing. Let's set up an arrangement. And one thing you can do is, if you have a good accounting system, you should have a basic accounting system like Quicken or QuickBooks. You simply add a SKU for anything that you do that's tied to that particular brand, that particular logo, and then you say, I'm going to produce this report and I'll pay you at the end of each month, so that you know exactly how much I sold, and we get you the exact 15% or 10% or whatever that percentage is. How does that work for Princeton, Henry?
Well, we have to pay an upfront licensing fee every year, but that comes off of each quarter. But normally, if I was buying from, and I'm going to use a couple of different vendors, an MV or a Neil's, they add the licensing fee onto every invoice. In working with the direct-to-garment, I was able to work out a deal with them that, as opposed to me having to calculate each piece that we printed, that if I had separate SKUs for them at the end of each quarter, I would print out a sales report of what we sold and pay them based on what we sold, not what we have sitting on the shelf. And they were more than happy to work with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That preserves your cash, which is very critical.
There's the cash. It also allows them to get paid for every piece, without a question as to, well, how many pieces did you print today? If somebody forgot to mark it down, then they'd be shorted. This way, they know exactly because I give them a copy of the printout.
Mm-hmm. True, true. All right, so moving forward, we have another strong tip from a lot of customers, and I mean the vast majority of successful businesses have a web presence. They have at least a website, if not a strong social media presence, and I mean especially Facebook, because that's your network of customers and fans and family, other businesses, and you're essentially getting referrals all the time through your Facebook page. You want to, if you're going to be doing this, you should go for it and spend at least 30 minutes a day putting up photos, maybe even snippets of videos onto YouTube. Take a video of your printer working to show off how fast it is. Put it onto Facebook and Twitter and so forth. Send out Instagrams. Add some keywords to your website. So for search engine optimization purposes, on your website you put custom T-shirts, full color shirts, no minimums, on demand. You may even sneak in screen printing for other garment decoration technologies, just to make your site more relevant. Another thing that you can do is to attend public exhibitions or fairs or different types of venues where you can rent a booth. People really like to see the printer running. So for an example of a Facebook page, you can see Eastern Shore Signs. This is a customer based out in Cape Charles, Virginia, rural town, and he has built a collage of different work that he's done, and one of his strongest revenue drivers is his AnaJet MP5i. He's now upgraded to a 10i. IHS Printing does not even have a website. All they have is their Facebook page. These folks are based in Fountain Valley, California. Jason Bryan, who Summer, you know Jason Bryan.
He's awesome.
But if you can see the photos here, what he's done is he simply took a picture of every cool job that he's done, and if you see on the bottom right there, he has actually printed on some trucker caps. So he's produced a lot of unusual stuff there. Summer, maybe you recognize this.
I do.
Tell me about this.
So this is part of our Soul project line. We decided that for the next 12 months we're going to seek out 12 artists utilizing what we call soul places. So 12 soul places. The money from each shirt will go back to a charity in that soul place. And so far we've started with Big Sur. Next month we'll be doing Dana Point, Venice in December, San Francisco in January. And it's a way to get the people out in the marketplace involved in the Soul Project. Mm-hmm. And so far it's really working. It's really, I mean, I have to say it was so exciting to get the art and download it and put it in the RIP software and be able to print that shirt, and that all happened in about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So you guys already have a roster of artists that work with you today. Is that right?
We do.
Yeah. I've seen the website.
This is actually a call out to the community, so anybody can put their art on a T-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So who, offhand, who designed this placard, this banner for you?
This was done in-house. So we do utilize having full graphic services. I have 2 gals that work here in the office, and then I have a couple of freelance graphic artists. Mm-hmm. Dawn's actually gotten quite handy on Photoshop as well. Mm-hmm. And so when we have a customer that wants something and they don't have a design, we charge to do those designs for them. I think that's a key part of being in this DTG business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. I like the way that you're approaching through the community, through the Facebook page. About how many likes do you think that your site has now?
1,066.
That's really awesome.
I look at it every day, so I can tell you.
I thought so. This is yet another customer out there. I think I mentioned Color Image Designs, and they're printing on shirts signs, and they just started doing iPhone cases as well. So they're pretty gung-ho about promoting that capability. These folks go out doing all types of things, and then not just T-shirts, but you can see top left, that's their latest photo. Some event types that you can go to when we're talking about being remote or taking your printer on the road. This is one of the unique things about AnaJet printers is that they travel pretty well. We hit 25 trade shows a year. That's just domestically, and that pales in comparison to what some of our customers do, taking their Sprints or their FPs or their M-Powers out on the road in a trailer or in a van. These are all places where people are in the mood to buy custom printed stuff. They'll take artwork and elements that you put on a display board, and it might add a photograph if you have a green screen and a camera. And they're coming with cash, and that cash is a nice way to do business. It's very handy. Saves you from transaction fees and the like. So some concluding thoughts here before we run over into a Q&A, and that is you want to be training on your machine. And by training, I mean don't just get the printer and open up the manual and glance at it. And the call to tech support to get it set up is very useful, but look at the manual. Visit the website, visit the YouTube site where we have AnaJet University online. Go through as much training as your vendor has. Take full advantage of those resources. Allow yourself a ramp-up time and practice. Use the printer, use the graphic design software. Try different things. Mess around and test out configurations for pretreatment on dark shirts and dark garments. Track everything that you buy, everything that you sell, regardless of how small it is. Having CPA can be very helpful, and I'm sure that folks who've been in business for a couple of years can attest to that. Having a person to help you with the receipts and the accounting and the taxes is critical. Aggressively sampling. So this may not apply in Henry and Summer's case, but for a small home-based business, you want to be out there handing out $3 samples to all the small businesses, the schools, the charities, and other nonprofits, churches, and so forth, so that they know who you are and what your capabilities are, along with your pricing sheet. The 3 legs of the stool for success, the 3 legs of this stool are marketing, graphic software, and discipline maintenance, meaning you're your #1 salesperson, you're promoting the capabilities, you're getting your price list out there, you're doing a website, you're passing out business cards wherever you go so people know who you are and what you can offer. Becoming very good with graphic design software. Starting off with Elements if you're skittish about it, if you're just getting started. Go through lynda.com to learn about some of these, learn about some of the advanced techniques that you can do with Photoshop and Illustrator and CorelDRAW. And finally, learn the equipment. Become a master of your equipment, your DTG printer, whether it's an M-Power, Sprint, or whatever. A 4th leg, I would say, is to diversify your revenue and don't be afraid to shift your product lines. Summer, you've experienced this. Henry, you've experienced this a little bit over the course of decades of working at Landau's of Princeton.
Constantly.
And, yeah, and if anybody wants to see this deck in PDF, you just have to drop me an email there. And you can expect someone from AnaJet to follow up with you to go along on this or to answer any other questions that you may have to get some more tools for making a better decision. So let me turn this over to Summer and ask her, what would you say in conclusion about the secrets to building a good DTG business?
I think the first secret is to go to, if you're actually going to buy the machine, go to the training, if at all possible. I know when I was in training, there were a few people there that had had their machines for quite a while, and one guy couldn't understand why he couldn't print white ink on his black shirt and didn't have a clue about the pre-treat. I mean, I think there's just so many things that you learn while you're there on that day, and little tips and tricks. And then I think you do, once you have your machine, you do just have to practice and get in there and get comfortable with it. Once you get going, I think it's a really fun business to be in. people are so amazed when they walk through the door and they can watch their design come to life so quick and so fast. And I do wholeheartedly agree with the social media part of it. I know we get a lot of people that call because they've seen our Instagrams. I even had a lady call from Canada and wanted to know if I could do a job for her, and she found out about us from Instagram. So I think the social media part of it is key for building the kind of business that we have.
Okay. Okay. So a question that has come in is, how much of your business is coming in through your website versus your storefront?
I think now the bulk of our business comes from having been in business for 2 years, and we have a lot of repeat customers and a lot of word of mouth. I have teamed up with a couple of screen printers, and they send me a lot of work for their smaller jobs, and or something that they need done fast and the screen printer can't accommodate, and then those people end up becoming loyal customers.
Okay. Another one is, at what point do you start discounting?
I have done some discounting based on volume. I'm having to rethink that model a little bit. If we're doing, they're complicated prints and we're doing one at a time, that's almost more involved because it's inputting into the RIP software, getting it up, and then doing one. So it's like a bunch of small jobs. If I'm going to be printing 20 or 30 shirts, I'll start to give a discount. Mm-hmm. And then anything over to, about 100 or 200, if it's just a single color, then I would probably farm that out to a screen printer.
Okay. There's another question that came in from David. He says, many of our employees are concerned with being able to center the design on the shirts correctly. How much practice do you need to ensure that your designs are printed on center?
I think that is just a matter of practice, and I'd say if you have an employee, give them 10 shirts. And I don't know, that's, for me, it's really easy. It's sort of, you go by eye, you go by feel. Mm-hmm. The gal I have working for me now, she's great at it. The other guy I had working was pretty good. I have one of my graphic artists came in and tried, and for the life of him, he could not get that T-shirt centered and get the design on there straight. I never could understand it. I don't think it's, I just don't think it's that complicated. I think the platen makes it pretty, yeah, it is a matter of feel. I think the platen makes it pretty straightforward. There's a little cheater on the ring. Mm-hmm. It's pretty straightforward.
There's actually a notch on the hoop. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed it, but there's a notch on the hoop, and there's notches on the printing table, so that if you center the tag and the collar according to the notch, and then you just drag it over the edge, you're going to be centered with the shirt. Henry, have you or your employees ever had struggles with centering the shirts when they're doing a print?
No, typically the way I train people is take the shirt, hold both shoulders, drop behind the platen, and slide it up the platen until you get the collar over the notch in the top of it. And then put the hoop on and grab it on both sides, and basically where your knuckles hit the bottom of the tray, if one side hits and the other doesn't, it's not centered. You pretty much, it'll take me 10 minutes to teach somebody how to center it. And we put somebody new on the machine last week, and in 3 shirts, she's not as fast as I am, but she was doing it and got me off the machine, got her onto it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
And going back on what Heather said, or Summer said, training. I didn't go to training when we got the sprint, but we bought 100 shirts, and we basically stood there for 2 weeks, playing until we got comfortable with what the quality was and what we were getting done. When we got the M-Power, I went to training with my son, and I sent my daughter and one of my other employees out. It definitely helps. It's, you're spending a lot of money on a piece of equipment, And the better you know how to use it, the easier it is for it to continue to work for you. And I'm going to throw a little tidbit in. I walked in on somebody not knowing that they had an MP10i, and he's telling me that all he's having is ink clogging problems. And I walked in, looked at the machine, and the machine was shut off. I said, there's your problem right there. Well, why? I said, because it has an auto-circulating in the system, and if you're shutting it off, you're allowing the ink to, dry. If he had gone to training, that never would have happened.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good tidbit. You definitely want to don't skip the training. Don't skimp on that. If you're spending $15, $20, $30, $35, $40,000 on an investment, it's not a car. It's a Formula One race car. The analogy that people make is just saying, well, that your printer costs as much as a used car or a brand new car. That's not a good analogy. A Toyota Camry is to a paper printer what an AnaJet printer is to a multi-million-dollar race car. Your Toyota Camry is not going to make you money. Your Toyota Camry doesn't require a whole lot of attention to it. You just simply put gas in it and it goes. But with the Formula One race car, it calls for a team of people to support you, to look at what you're doing with it, optimize its performance. You need to be an expert in that machine. It really helps you to go through the training and don't skimp on that, because you're going to be the operator, the driver, and the pit crew for that machine. So you want to know how it runs. You want to open the hood and attend the AnaJet University online. Watch the YouTube video. It's great. It's only an hour and 50 minutes. And if you can make the flight out here, there's no substitute for over-the-shoulder, hands-on learning with our shirts and our ink. So that's the best way to learn. And Summer, you've been twice now?
I have.
Yeah. So valuable both times.
Very.
Yeah. And Joe?
Yes.
One other thing I want to add to that is that after you go through training, when you call tech support with you guys is probably the best tech support I've ever dealt with. But if they know that you've been through training and what they're talking about and what you're talking about are the same thing as opposed to two different things, makes maintaining your machine 200% easier.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Let me move forward just a little bit here. I have one other question on here, and I will spin it this way. What is the AnaJet advantage over competitive printers? I'll speak, and then I'll ask you guys to chime in if you have anything. From my perspective as a marketing manager, I tend not to criticize any other company's equipment, because you don't want to get into that kind of a match. But what I will say is that we're unique with the AnaRep software, which allows you, as far as I know, it's the only software out there that really shows you a true view, a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get on the shirt when it's printed, before you spend the money and spend the ink to print. There's point number one. Point number two is that you have live technical support from us from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. We have a large community of customers out there who also tend to use social media and other venues to communicate with folks on the weekends. That's amazing. Another advantage is that you have the true color fidelity and ICC profiles. So we actually had an event recently where a competitor literally walked up to me with a printed shirt that had the SGIA show graphic on it. And he wanted to see how their ink held up against ours. And there was a customer standing there, and I didn't say a word. The customer said, yeah, the AnaJet's ink is more vibrant. The blue is true. There's just no comparison. And I just can't say enough about how having that color fidelity, that high degree of match between what you see on the screen and what you see on the shirt is outstanding. So Summer, Henry, have you had an experience in your evaluation process with looking at competitive printers?
I have, and the one thing it keeps coming down to, the couple of shows I went to, when you go to the AnaJet booth, when I was at MBN Philadelphia, you have 4 printers, you have 6 people there. Printers are printing samples and you're talking to people full time. I went by one of the competitors and there's a sign up, demonstration at 1:30. Just no customer service at the show, which in my mind tells me there's no customer service after the fact. You know, you guys can say how good your tech support is. When I bought the machine, I believed you, but until you start calling, I've never dealt with a company that you call, everybody speaks English, and they will not hang up with you until they have you up and running. I've never been as blown away as I have with your tech support.
Well, our tech support team will be happy to hear that, Henry. Thank you very much. Summer, I don't know if you folks had some rigorous evaluation process.
I wish I could say that we had, but we walked around the ISS show and looked at a few of the other companies, but we were pretty much sold on AnaJet right from the beginning, and everybody that we dealt with there was so helpful and forthright, and we were able to come take the training before we had completely made up our mind, which was huge, and we were able to come see the machines in action and talk to people and talk to other customers, and it just, and for us, because we're only 20 minutes away, that for us really sealed the deal as well.
Right, right.
I also like that the machine is made in the United States. That's pretty huge.
Right, right, awesome. And made in the USA helps to be an advantage. There's another thing in that I'll stress 2 points to you. Direct-to-garment printers is all we make. We don't make copiers, scanners, embroidery machines. We don't make digital heat transfers. We don't do dye sublimation. The only thing we do for our business, our bread and butter, what pays my salary, is DTG, folks. So that's why we've wound up with having arguably the most popular direct-to-garment printers in the United States and a very large share of the direct-to-garment market all over the world. This is because it's all we do. The exclusive focus really helps us to hone and continuously improve our machines. The latest release of the Empire, the 5i and the 10i, that represents tens of thousands of hours of labor and probably equally tens of thousands of sample prints, just basically shirts printed time and time again, pre-treated and printed, so that we could really rigorously test out the new plumbing, the new components that we've, and the new firmware that we've put into the I-Series. Another question that's come back to us is the show in New Jersey, we're going to be at Sign World Atlantic City. Does it only have stuff about signs? Good question. There are a large number of them are signs, but there's also going to be digital printing, probably some awards and engraving, and of course the AnaJet booth. And we've been at Sign World every year for the last 4 years because it's a great market for us. Those folks usually have a small business going already, but if you don't, we still encourage you to attend Sign World. Get in there. It's going to be a small, intimate exhibit there, so you'll have plenty of time to talk over the course of 3 days with our representatives there. And we're going to be at all these shows coming up, not to mention we're going to China in November to FESPA China. If you folks have more questions, I'm going to cut this off now. We just hit the top of the hour. Thank you very much for attending. You want to visit our blog for more advice and more success stories, more tips on marketing and growing the business. Our product webinar is November 6th. I encourage you to, if you haven't already signed up for that one, please do. And you can see our sales and marketing staff running those printers. Like Henry said, we run the printers. We have one tech per show usually. But it's 90% of the time it's me or Deanna, it's a salesperson who's running the printers. And these are not folks who are born and bred into the technology. And Deanna's laughing because she's actually gotten to be so good that she's considered a show tech. But nobody runs their printers as continuously and as rigorously as we do at shows. If you see AnaJet at a show, you'll see a printer running, I guarantee it. That's it, and I want to say my deep, deep appreciation for Summer Meek and Don on the sidelines there, appreciate that, and Henry Landau for attending our call and supporting us and sharing their insights with you, the audience. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys.